Hello, and welcome to a demonstration of just some of our Content Innovation Cloud, or CiC, services available today. Everything I'm about to show has been delivered and is ready for you to experience in your environment. Our story today centers around the patient claims processing department at a medium-sized health system. They receive upwards of 2 million pieces of billing correspondence annually that must be processed manually. And we're going to intelligently automate more than half of their work, saving millions a year in recovered reimbursement. And while healthcare specific, I think you'll find this agentic mailroom story applies to most industries. As I log into the CiC, you'll notice a fresh, modern take on UI. We'll begin as a solution builder in our studio modeling interface. So for those that are new, this is behind the scenes configuration of AI-powered content solutions. We'll start with intelligent document processing, or IDP, which leverages not just OCR tools, but AI agents to perform document separation, classification, and extraction. In this example of our healthcare package solution for revenue cycle correspondence, we've pre-configured classifications for a few of the most common content types. But I want to show you how easy it is to configure a new class. For this refund request, all I had to do was enter the name of the document. I didn't have to describe it. I didn't have to configure a template or train the agent, which means that these solutions are up in a fraction of the time. Now let's import a few files and give it a run. But before I do, I want to mention our Content Federation service. Notice the on-base on the right? We've designed the CiC as a single integrated cloud platform with our Hyland customers in mind. Here you'll see options to import samples and import configuration, allowing me to leverage my existing system by automatically connecting my on-base document types to CiC IDP. Next, I'll upload a few sample files from my machine to test the configuration. Let me grab a few locally here, but of course, these documents can come from anywhere. Once they're imported into the system, we can take a look at our sample batch, comprised of just 3 documents. I'll draw your attention to our local lockbox file. This contains a multitude of different documents in a single file. All right, now that our classification configuration is complete, let's give it a go. I'll click to classify and separate documents, and it's at this moment our agents get to work. All of our documents have now been separated and classified correctly, including the lockbox multi-document file. All right, now for the good stuff. Let's get into the metadata extraction. We'll start with our additional documentation request. Now remember, this was our on-base document type, and the agent did an incredible job of extracting the keyword values. Switching to our insurance information form, I want you to notice 2 things before we begin. The first, this document is in Spanish, and the second, it's handwritten. And now we'll ask our agent to suggest metadata fields for us. The agent just looks at the document and determines what relevant metadata might be. So not only did our IDP agents suggest fields, but they were also able to translate the extracted values into English and recognize handwriting with a high degree of confidence. Lastly, let's add a new field. In this case, we want to know if this document was signed by the guarantor. And here's the fun part. The field I want to capture is not on the document as text. The extraction agent is looking at the document and reasoning or reasonably determining if it's been signed. And I'll ask for a yes, no designation. And you'll notice that as our agent gets to work, not only are we given an indication that yes, this document has been signed, but we're also provided with both OCR and extraction confidence levels, which we can use to determine if we want humans to review. All right. At this moment, we have our IDP configured. Let's move on to the process design. Luckily, our IDP and Automate BPMN tools are tightly coupled, so one flows right into the other. In the case of revenue cycle correspondence, we used a predefined solution template based off of the IDP classifications we just configured. And I'll bring your attention to a few highlights. First, we are automatically executing autofills and keyword validation against OnBase thanks to our Content Federation service. And next, when a human user is needed, we're pre-building interfaces for validation and verification. All right. Now, thanks to the CiC, we have intelligently automated the majority of the intake workload. These documents will now enter OnBase to take advantage of the extensive integration between OnBase and, in this example, Epic. Now, ordinarily, what would happen next is that someone would need to review and decide what to do with all of these items, all these pieces of correspondence. But with the volumes we're talking about, how does a human user ever keep up? And the fact of the matter is often they don't. That's why we need to agent enable it, which brings me to the biggest Hyland headline, the release of Agent Builder, providing the ability to build AI agents to tackle some of the work within our process for us. Now, in order to create an agent, all I need to do is click Create, Agent, and give it a name, Colleen's Agent in this quick example, and I can begin configuration. But in the interest of time, I'll show you two patient billing correspondence agents that I've already created. Sticking with our mailroom story, our first agent is built with Claude, but our content intelligence products are LLM agnostic, with the ability to select from industry-leading models or bring your own. This agent reviews the correspondence to determine what's being requested and sets a priority based on a provided policy and guardrails. Our second agent in the chain summarizes the document, outlines next steps, and takes action. Here, we'll use an OnBase MCP server. You might wonder what that is. Well, MCP stands for Model Context Protocol, which is an open interoperability standard used to connect our agents and systems in a secure and standardized way. And it's actually fairly new, so it's pretty cool that Hyland is already utilizing it. All right, so we have our agents built, which might leave you wondering, how do these agents replace the human steps within my existing OnBase workflow? The answer, all we have to do is connect the two. Let me show you how. Navigating to OnBase Studio, let's take a look at our existing billing and correspondence processing workflow. We added our two agents directly into an existing workflow. We simply replaced the former route to human review step with new agentic logic. First, our routing and prioritization agent, and second, our summary and next steps. Here, we'll call the agent setting its universally unique ID as a workflow property. And now these two worlds have been connected. And this agent is not just available from Hyland or from OnBase repositories. We have designed this implementation so it can replace human steps in any process from any BPMN tool. All right, if you're ready to see this in action, I'll navigate back. Now we'll take a look at our OnBase agentic workflow via the lens of a patient billing specialist who needs to review the work the agent has done. Here we are in the OnBase App Builder, which all of my OnBase customers should be using to provide a personalized OnBase experience. These gray boxes represent workflow queues or workview filters of items to be reviewed. Now, at first glance, it might seem like there's a lot of work to do. But remember, our AI agents have triaged and completed many of the steps for us. Let's dive into our claims that require additional documentation prior to payment, specifically this high priority item for Mary. Our agent has done the work of providing a summary, indicating next steps, and giving us a reason for this evaluation, building trust and confidence, also known as explainable AI, all of which, of course, will be a huge help to our human user. But we're not done. In this case, the insurance company is requesting additional documents before paying the claim. And our AI agent found them in OnBase. I'm going to let that sit out there for a second. The agent found the requested documents, something that would have taken our human user hours of time for a single request. And we've made it so that now all our human in the loop user has to do is review. Now, I could stop this demo right here, hopefully having sufficiently blown your mind with what's possible within the Content Innovation Cloud. But what if we could prevent some of the denied claims from entering our process in the first place because we provided what was required up front? Well, the great news is that the CiC can help with that too. Using knowledge discovery, in this case directly linked from the OnBase app builder, we can ask questions of our content and get meaningful answers. On the left, we see our AI search assistants. Think of these as content specialists with domain expertise. You'll notice that our patient billing specialist has access to specific content sources, in this case, our additional documentation requests, and MetaLlama is used. So let's ask knowledge discovery a question, and bear with me here as I copy and paste. Which procedures most frequently require additional documentation? And as we click, our patient billing specialist gets to work reviewing vast amounts of documents, text, audio, and video, determining which procedures require them the most. This is a task no human user could reasonably do in such a short amount of time. We're given a graph as well as a table and all of the documents that were referenced in order to generate this data. And ultimately, with these insights, we could prevent some of the additional documentation requests from even coming in because we can provide the proper documentation in advance. The hospital gets paid with a lot less overhead, and ultimately the patient receives the best possible care. If I could do a cartwheel, I would. Thank you so much for listening. This is product evangelist Colleen Alber signing off.